Hello, this is James Barkell.
And it is wonderful to have your company here on the centre court.
You are listening to the Coach Doctor Podcast.
Strikes it beautifully and it's down the middle.
In this podcast series, we discuss all things coaching and sports science.
Beats one, beats a couple, still going.
Each episode will feature prominent coaches on the front line of their sport.
Across to Mbappe.
And some of the world's leading academics who research what it takes to get the W.
All Blacks under big pressure again.
If there is an aspect of your coaching that needs some assistance, you can always count on the Coach Doctor to add life to your program.
Browning's having a terrific run. The first three to qualify. You betcha!
In this episode, I talk with Melbourne Rebels player Cameron Orr. We discuss his pathway to becoming an elite athlete and the importance of athlete journaling. I asked Cameron about being presented the Spirit of Weary Dunlop Award in 2021 for being a great clubman at the Melbourne Rebels. More recently, Cameron has also started a business with Waratahs player Carlo Tizzano called Elite Performance Journals, which provides both individual and team-based journals aimed at the young athletes wanting to forge a pathway to success and also to the elite athletes wanting to add longevity onto their careers and stay at the top of the game. Cameron talks about the importance of journaling to achieve those smaller goals or the 1%ers that add up to greater benefits over the long run. I apologise for any interruptions in the recording as Melbourne was going through a storm during the interview. I've done my own voiceover for one small section where the connection was poor. Cam, thanks for joining us today, mate. Lovely to have you on. Just quickly, currently with the Melbourne Rebels. You're a Sydney boy originally from Trinity Grammar, West Harbour Junior. You're in the middle of pre-season training down in Melbourne at the moment. What's been happening, mate?
Thanks for having me on, Jimmy. Look, it's been a pretty full-on year, especially, coming out of lockdown and stuff. We really haven't stopped training since we finished up this year. So, look, it's been quite tough, but it's sort of as things are opening up now, we're sort of getting a little bit more freedom and stuff and time to enjoy, I guess, each other's company within the team outside of just rugby as well. And like just little things like we couldn't do before, like going for coffees and those little special culture building things. We're starting to get back. So it's good getting a bit of normality now. And it's actually only 2.5 weeks out from our first trial game against the Waratahs. So looking forward to that. It's just come back around again, but it's probably better that way. But it's too much of an off season and you lose a bit of the momentum.
Yeah, nice one, mate. So obviously, as we said, you're down at the Rebels at the moment. Can you give me a brief background of your pathway, how you ended up at the Rebels, and I guess some of those steps on the pathway in between?
Yeah, I mean, I started sort of my journey through school, is where I sort of found the passion for rugby and love. I was lucky through Trinity Grammar School, had some really good coaches and mates who played rugby and guys I still talk to, keep in touch with. And so I sort of made the decision then that this could be, a bit of a pathway for me. So I was lucky enough to make schoolboys out of school. Probably my proudest achievement though was doing it out of all the seconds teams. So I made CAS seconds, which was like the local association one, and then made it to New South Wales, but only New South Wales 2. And then from New South Wales 2, I was actually lucky enough to get into schoolboys, and that was probably my little motivation that I could prove people wrong, and that probably set me up for the next couple of years where I was lucky enough to play a bit of representative with the Australian under-20s. Similar things where I was in that position the first year there where I was probably the second, third choice, but then by the next year I was starting most games and sort of found that little bit of underdogness in myself and that motivation that I can be better. And I was lucky enough to after that year get a training contract with the Waratahs. That was the first step and probably the hardest thing I've ever done. I still recall that as probably the hardest preseason of my life. We're on 6 days out of 7. There was no sympathy if you were sore. There was no sympathy if you couldn't keep up. It was find a way, which I really applaud and I'm very thankful for, because that's probably the start of me trying to build a bit of resilience in myself. I sort of didn't progress through that pathway. Then I was lucky enough to get an opportunity over at Gloucester Rugby in the UK. I was lucky there was a connection there with my agent and Laurie Fisher, and he sort of took a gamble on me. And I was lucky enough, in the 2 years I was there, I went on to play about, I think 24, 25 professional games for the club. That's between Europeans and Premiership games and a few development games in there too, which was a really rewarding experience. It's an extremely tough one, moving overseas, away from a partner, away from a family, first time moving out of home. This little privileged Trinity boy having to move out and live by himself and sort of fend for himself, which was, a huge maturing experience, and I loved it. And then sort of came to the end of that 2 years, and my brother was there too, and we sort of thought, well, we want to play together. Let's try do this. And opportunity came up with the
newly formed Western Force.
And we went there for a 1.5, 2 seasons, and really enjoyed it. Sort of when we went to the Force, we made a bit of a decision there that Harry, my brother, was going to hang the boots up and move into something else. I mean, he'd studied a lot, so he was moving into resilience and leadership consulting. And then I sort of still had the hunger, and I was going to take any opportunity, and there wasn't, a lot out there. After those 2 seasons, we probably didn't have the exposure we'd wanted to over East, but I was lucky enough to get a wider squad contract at the Rebels, and then I backed myself to sort of earn that full time and play, and I was lucky I ended up playing every game the next season, and then moving into now, this is going on my 3rd season with the Rebels, and absolutely loving it. This is probably, again, one of my proudest moments where, I was lucky enough to get selected in a Wallaby squad as an injury replacement, but still something I hold pretty close to my heart.
Yeah, awesome, mate. On that pathway, you originally started off as a back rower, didn't you? You were a number 8/slot.
Yeah, even before that, I was actually inside centre, and I love that. Yeah, probably about 60 kilos lighter, could move a lot quicker. But and then back row throughout school up until about year 11, 12.
Yeah, nice. And then you moved into the front row. So, what advice have you got for any young players that might be looking at making that transition to the front row? Is it as bad as it, is it as tough, I guess, as it sounds or looks, or is it okay?
I think the toughest thing is on your cauliflower ears. So yeah, both of them are gone now. But no, look, it's probably something I'd probably say start doing as early as possible. Refine your shape and get that sorted, because number one priority for all kind of selectors and coaches is that you can scrum as a prop. It's your bread and butter. Set piece is the dominance. But as you go on now and you see the guys who are really dominating that space, guys overseas, Ellis Genge, these players who are so dominant at scrum time and set piece time, but they're unbelievable around the field, and they bring a different element to the game. And that's a really exciting piece that, props just can't scrum anymore, but you still need to have it there. So work on your all-round skills, I think, too.
Yeah, and did you find that time you spent at Gloucester really helped you in your scrummaging, working with UK players and European players, and Laurie Fisher was also coaching over there at that stage? Did you find that was really helpful towards, developing your play?
Oh, massively. Yep, I couldn't agree more. So there was probably times where, I was coming in and not getting selected, and I'd go and say, oh, why is this? And they'd go, well, everything else is really good. Your skills around the field, but your scrummaging's not up to scratch. And that was the feedback I was getting. And it was incredibly tough, because everyone around you, the thing in European and Premiership rugby is that there's guys from all over the world. There's South Africans, there's Samoans, there's All Blacks playing next to you, there's British and Irish Lions. And it's so grateful for that opportunity, but there is someone there who's got test experience or near test experience that you've got to go against or you've got to scrum with. So, the expectation of yourself is to be up to scratch. So I think, there's not many guys who get through over there who don't have the ability to scrum and play consistently throughout the year. So it's definitely a lot of value. I was lucky I had a British and Irish Lions winning coach in Trev Woodman, who was there and got a lot of sound advice. Probably one of the most toughest coaches I had, because even if you won the penalty for the team in the 80th minute at scrum time, we still look at you like, mate, you need to improve. So tough one to impress, but definitely a lot of gratitude for that.
So, mate, I guess on your pathway or on your journey, you've been coached by a number of coaches, and especially a number of elite coaches at, I guess, the Waratahs, Gloucester, the Melbourne Rebels, Western Force, and even at schoolboys level, and even at Sydney Juniors, mate. And
the top of the top, Nigel Saka.
Yeah. What do you think makes a great coach, or what for you makes a great coach?
I definitely think accessibility. That's probably the prime one for me. I probably struggle with a coach who, it's just personal to me, but who isn't outgoing in talking to me. If someone shuts me off and I can't go get feedback, or I probably don't trust the feedback as well, which is a tough one. I struggle to, I think, get the best development out of myself. So I find the coaches who do have time, who can make time, and have a way of actually understanding your personal situation. And I understand it's so hard. I mean, they're managing 40 to 50 players in a team, plus staff, plus all this. But having that sort of personal trust and accessibility is the key one. I also think another one is probably transparency. Definitely being transparent with all the players and being upfront and honest. One example would be Nathan Gray back at the Waratahs when I was, young pup coming through. But the way he treated me to how he treated, say, someone like Israel Folau at the time was exactly the same. Miles and miles of distance apart in terms of skill level and experience. But the feedback I was getting was the same feedback he was getting. And it was coming from the right place, and I'll always value that information. And I think I've actually ingrained that a bit more than, say, some other coaching styles where I haven't got that back. I think they're the main ones for me.
Yeah, thanks, mate, because this podcast is designed for coaches. I guess you're the first athlete or player that we've had on. So it's good to get some feedback from an athletic perspective or a player's perspective on what they find makes a great coach. And it's interesting that you sort of have identified personality characteristics over like technical knowledge or tactical knowledge of the game. So that's really interesting. And on saying that, one of the other things about you is you've recently started a business called Elite Performance Journals.
Yeah, no, you nailed it.
That's the business. Yeah. First of all, tell me where the idea for Elite Performance Journals came from.
I guess it's sort of been brewing over for about 4 or 5 years, ever since at Gloucester, where we got handed a big playbook at the start of the year, and it was fantastic. It sort of had every game mapped out. It had note space. It had your ability to basically keep your life in a book there. And it sort of sat with me, and I thought that's a really good idea. So I started, everyone takes notes at training. Everyone sort of writes things down, and then sort of 2 years ago, I was lucky enough to work with Dave Diggle, who's a sports psychologist, and he's worked with a lot of Great Britain, I think it was divers and gymnasts. And then now he's actually working with the Wallabies. And lucky I worked alongside him. He'd been working with guys like Dane Halep-Petty, Matt Samua, all these, really consistent Wallabies. And after that, he was a big advocate for journals and writing down and sort of planning your week and things like that. And this sort of brewed together the idea that, how about we harness what we do at training and practicing and preparation, and then also combine it with this individual sport performance. And we came up with the idea of the Elite Performance Journal, where you could harness sort of your preparation and all your goals and everything sort of long-term up to 10 years. We've sort of planned it at, and then also harness what you're doing at training and kind of, it's a way of streamlining everything together and presenting this idea to you that you can structure your goals and make it almost, second nature. And I guess the biggest focus of it is building those high performance habits. There's thousands of books out there at the moment, which go on about, different ways to form habits and things. And I'm a firm believer in that. So having these journals is a way of developing those things like accountability and your goal setting and all these high performing habits that all the great performers have out there. So we're still sort of, we're just past development stages and things like that, but it's been a really exciting journey, because I'm also finding out, more to myself, like how can I be better as a person and an athlete and I guess on my journey. So no, it's been exciting, but it's scary thing sort of starting that and something else.
Yeah, definitely. It's always scary starting something new and taking yourself out of your comfort zone. So in terms of your own approach to your performance, how important is journaling for you? Do you find it something that you've really taken on board and it's something you do daily or?
Yeah, I guess with myself, I struggled a lot at the start to start journaling. I always thought, oh, what's the point? Like I found planning my week was really easy, and I found ticking goals off in a week was easy, and I was like, I don't need that process. But then it was refining it and sort of achieving those marginal gains of 1%, where I can improve. And as I sort of saw that develop, I would journal once at the start of the week, once at the end of the week, and just go through everything, review my goals. And it was just putting stuff onto paper. And then it kind of got to a couple of weeks when I started doing it, and it felt like, okay, I'm actually getting something out of this. And I found then my goal setting for the next week was more refined. It was more specific. And then I was starting to pinpoint with coaches, things I wanted to improve on, and kind of my investment in myself and my goals went through the roof. So I've definitely found it a huge benefit to me. I understand everyone's different, but I think it's something people should try and stick to for a little bit, because you do see a lot of development and benefit out of it.
Yeah, nice. And what is, I guess, your elite performance journals? Is that aimed specifically for elite players or junior athletes who might want to become elite one day, or just every level of athlete?
Yeah, this is probably the main thing sort of we juggled with for a little bit with Carlo Tizzano, who's a business partner, and I. We're looking at emerging athletes. We're looking at those people between, say, 13, 14 years old who look up to those elite athletes and want to follow a pathway to get there. So a lot of the content we've got inside our personal EPJ, which is probably the more widely one that we will sell, a lot of it is from elite athletes who currently give key information, key insights that they haven't given out to anyone else, and they've been kind enough to give to us. And it will hopefully harness those people between, say, 13, 14 to 25, 26. It can be even older. There's no real age limit if you're determined enough to achieve those sort of sporting goals. And it's all about developing those habits and giving insight and inspiration from people who are currently doing it. And it doesn't have to be sort of I look at a lot of things out there, and people look for inspiration from your Michael Jordans and people like that, and you go, okay, well, is that achievable though? So we found athletes that we believe have that sort of cornerstone of hard work and resilience as a real inspiration for people, because we know a lot about being an elite athlete is hard work, and it's a lot of sacrifice and dedication. So trying to find those people who you can relate to and can inspire on a deeper level than someone probably a little bit more left fielder out there.
Is it transferable between all sports, or is it specifically a rugby related tool? Or
I mean, just to begin with, we've got two different kinds of EPJs. We've got a personal one, which has got the insight and feedback from all the athletes we've got, which is from all different sports. We've got gymnasts, we've got water polo players, golfers, AFL players, a lot of rugby insight too with sevens. Some football. So we've got different walks of the world in sporting sense. But then our team EPJ, which is a completely bespoke journal, is what we create with teams. So currently we're working with the Waratahs on creating one for them, and we're pretty close to finishing that. And it's all about adopting and building their own culture. We want to give success. We want to draw on the personal sort of vibe of that club or organization, and really build something for them that they can all harness and use to become not just better athletes as individuals, but as a team. So they're a really exciting product, and they actually command a lot of patience, because they take a long time to actually draw out what's going to benefit the team most. So yeah, look, it is exciting. The team one, they're probably going to be the most rewarding ones, because you're going to see, and hopefully down the track, probably not so much from my point of view as a rebel, but a lot of success coming out of the teams, who do get them.
Yeah, nice. And I noticed and correct me if I'm wrong, that Rupa have jumped on board and created a bit of a partnership with the journaling. How's that working?
Yeah, it's been good. So we did a little bit of work with them currently for their sort of induction players, in helping create a handle for them to try to put their, put a lot of their values and work on display. We're currently in talks to then get a full one for the 2022 incoming athletes that is more of a journal-based document, so they can use that and take forward. And it's great that someone like Rupa with such a high standard of supporting their players and looking after the best interest of seeing value in the idea and the company. And yeah, looking forward to sort of grow alongside Rupa in the future.
Nice. And have you had much interest from any other sports so far in terms of organisations or teams?
Yeah, at the moment it's more we're connecting with rugby as sort of that's our connection. But at the moment, yeah, we're trying to expand, and especially down in Melbourne to AFL as well. It's also a lot about us as a team, sort of learning more about what the AFL requires, because we know it's a whole different, offensive, defensive focus. I mean, the complete rules are different. So there's going to be a lot of big changes, and we want to make sure that we get that right before we present a product to some of Australia's best athletes. So we are currently trying to make that happen, which is good.
Yeah, nice, mate. I'm a 14-year-old athlete. Where can I get one of the journals from?
So on our website, eliteperformancejournals.com. The personal ones will be out towards the end of the year, hoping. We're just waiting on a few things to come through. We were hoping for Christmas, but it's been unfortunately a little bit of a delay. We'll just blame it on COVID and everything else. But yeah, look, they will be out soon, which is fantastic. And if there is teams or coaches that are interested, reach out via email or our socials, and we can make sure we get talking and hopefully do a presentation to show you a bit more about it.
Yeah, sounds really good, mate. Sounds really, really good. And it's good to see that you're using some of your skills that you've learned as a player and what you've learned to then try and educate future players and I guess grow, athletes in multiple sports. So that's fantastic. Cam, moving away from the journals, you were recently awarded the Spirit of Weary Dunlop Award at the Rebels. Tell me about what this award is given for and what it meant to you.
Yeah, look, it was a massive honour. I actually had no expectation of it at all. It's sort of an award that it's to someone who encompasses sort of the values of the club. I hope to think in a way it's a good bloke award. I hope. But yeah, so it's an award that sort of represents someone who sticks to the values of the club. Hopefully he's a nice guy to be around and gives his all when he's out on the field. So yeah, no, it was a big honour. It took me by surprise big time. Who
selects that? Is it that from the coaches, or do the players, the whole playing group, have a role in selecting the recipient?
Yeah, so I think it's from the leadership group, mostly, who I think there was about 4 or 5, guys involved in that. And it was interesting, sort of the end of the year there, I started to move into that field, which was fantastic. I started to sort of grow into that leadership role as well. So it was nice to be around, sort of picked by my peers and see that evolution throughout the year. Because, coming in on a training contract and then starting to be a part of the sort of, not shot callers, but definitely that group who can rely on our tactics and have a bit of a say in the way things go around the training and games. And it was, a big honour to be around. Yeah,
awesome. Well, mate, I guess knowing you from coaching you for, I think, 3 years, or maybe 4 years, I think it was, along your sort of journey, I'm pretty sure, if it's for a good, being a good bloke and just an all-round team person, you would have been a very worthy recipient. Knowing what you were doing back then, and obviously seeing how you've grown and developed as an athlete now. And I think the Rebels are pretty lucky to have someone of your caliber as part of their team. So well done, mate. Fantastic award for you.
No, I appreciate it.
Moving on, I guess, and this probably comes from part of this award. I noticed you've been doing a little bit of work with the Super W team as well. Tell me a little bit about what you've been doing with their coaching wise.
Yeah, look, probably about 4 or 5 weeks ago, reached out to Alana Thomas, who was, instrumental with the team in the past few years, sort of getting them up and running and really getting them being a more dominant team in the Super W competition. I reached out because we've got a little bit of time at night at the moment. So I reached out and I said, well, if there's any help you need with the scrum side of things, I'm not going to advocate for the nines or any of the backs about passing or any of that. So I put my hand up to help with a bit of the scrummaging stuff, and Alana was nice enough to invite me down and let me help out around it, and I've really enjoyed it. It's been fantastic. It's been a massive week for the Rebels Super W, who they've just announced this week that they're going to be paying the players, and it'll be the first team in the Super W who does that, which is instrumental, not just for rugby, but for women in sport as well. And I would like to support that in any way I can. And I guess from the perspective of the Melbourne Rebels as well, a lot of the players in the men's team also really want to support and see that Super W program go well. So a part of me sort of going down and helping out is also trying to build that connection between the men's and the women's team and really show it is a one club focus, and build on the culture that we're lucky enough through our head coach, Kevin Foote, and started by Dave Wessels as well last year. They've really started building. So look, it shows that, rugby is great, but there are bigger things out there. So we need to make sure we do support each other and make something, positive happen during the time we're here.
I spoke to Alana a couple of weeks ago now, and one of the things she talked about was that there is a much the men's program and the women's program are becoming more aligned. And one of the things she spoke about was you've got and I don't know if the correct word is culture or theme, but the word love is something that you guys have really taken on board throughout the club. Tell me a little bit about how love is used.
Yeah, I guess love is our acronym for not just the way we play, but the way we present ourselves. And a lot to being a successful team isn't just the way you play on the field; it's the mark you leave on the community around you. And we find ourselves in Melbourne, Victoria, which is a sports state, but we've got to acknowledge we're not the biggest sport. So having that sort of connection and that love for the community rugby, which feeds into the professional system here, is the key one. And it's been a massive 2 years and extremely difficult to be able to support those the community and women's rugby as well, because it's been 2 years where we haven't been able to play rugby. A lot of the competition's been wiped out down here. So any way possible that we can sort of band together and fight for the same cause is only going to benefit everyone involved. And we want to make Victoria a rugby state and really make that mark on Australian rugby in general, because there is an extreme amount of talent across the men's and women's age groups here. And we're starting to see more Wallaroos every year, more Wallabies now. In that last Wallabies test of the year, the whole back row were Melbourne born and bred. So, I mean, everyone in New South Wales probably shoot me now, but it is fantastic. It's a home away from home, and there's a lot of people here who see the value in making rugby the number one sport here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cam, you just mentioned Wallabies and the Wallaroos. Earlier this year, you got called into the Wallaby group for the first time, I think, in your career. What was that like?
It was surreal in the moment. I still remember it. I got a text from the Wallaby manager just saying, "Hi mate, where are you at the moment?" And I thought, well, here we go. I've done something wrong. And then he followed up with a call from him and Dave Rennie, and he said, "Look, mate, there's been an injury. We're looking to bring you in as medical cover." And I thought, this is a dream come true. A couple of weeks earlier, I was extremely disappointed. I got the call to say, I wasn't selected. They were looking at me, but someone with a bit more experience, got the position. So I didn't let down. I was lucky enough, got some really good feedback from Petrus Duplessis, who just said, look, he's a scrum coach there, and he just said, just keep it and right away. As soon as we finished our super season, I went and played club. I stayed fit, kept training, and then got the call a week and a half later. So it was really good. And then getting into camp, it was, again, surreal around all these superstars who I'd looked up to for years. It was good. It was fantastic. We get in there. It was extremely difficult. I sort of came in as that third choice. So the way they train, they have their main 23 they'll train. And then I'm sort of on the side, back in, swap in and out. So it was a lot of fitness, but an amazing experience sort of being around that during that French series where we ended up going and winning it. It was massive and sort of, it was, I guess, the most positive thing I could take out of it is I wasn't behind the eight ball when I went there. I saw I had the ability to keep up with a lot of players there and their standard of play. It was just what was between the years, which really separates the best there from the second best. It was good.
Yeah, mate. Well, I was really chuffed for you when I saw you had been called into the squad. I had my fingers crossed that you'd get a chance to run on. But mate, I guess that leads to my next question. What are your goals for the next few years? Is the Wallaby side 2023 World Cup on the radar?
Definitely. I mean, I sort of plotted out a little bit of a pathway and stepping stone to where I want to be, and Wallabies is in that. 2023 World Cup would be fantastic, but I mean, there's a lot of work to go in between there and then now. So I mean, it's getting back into that Wallaby squad and getting chosen as one of their main players is that next goal, and then whatever comes after that is it's a blessing as well. But I just make sure I've got a lot of work individually as a player to make sure I can not just go there and be a part of the squad, but actually take that number one jersey and make it my own and really leave my mark, because I don't want to be the guy who just goes and trains. I want to be the one who plays and can really do something and make a difference for the team.
Cam, born and bred in Sydney, and you're a West Harbour junior. Are we likely to see you running out the Shute Shield at any stage soon for West Harbour again? Or being in Melbourne, does that mean you're subject to staying in Melbourne for their club competition? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a weird one this year because I was probably signed up to about 3 or 4 different clubs in 3 different states, just to avoid COVID and play somewhere just to get some more minutes. But yeah, look, if we do play, it's either between Melbourne or Sydney. So maybe there might be a game after the Super Rugby season next year. I always love going back. It's good to see, we're lucky enough, Joe Barracat's taken over West Harbour again. He's a fantastic coach with a lot of experience. So to see it in good hands is massive, and it's a big draw card for guys like myself, or there's a few other West Harbour guys out there playing Super Rugby and across the world who want to come back, because a lot of the most special moments in rugby are built at that sort of development age where you are young and you enjoy it, and it's your sort of first taste of men's grade rugby, and it's an exciting memory and one that I'll hold true as well.
Nice, mate. Last question. Sydney versus Melbourne, which is the better city?
Family's still in Sydney, so I have to say Sydney, but I absolutely love Melbourne. It's a wonderful city. Sort of now, as we said before we went on, it's starting to open up again, and you get to enjoy what Melbourne's got to offer. I mean, fantastic, restaurants, all the rest of it. Sydney will always be home, but if I couldn't live there, it'd definitely be Melbourne before anywhere else.
Yeah, nice. It's always, home is where the heart is, and I guess growing up in being a Sydney boy, playing for Sydney Juniors, West Harbour, New South Wales, the schools and stuff like that, as you were getting older, you sort of always tend to have that sort of affiliation back in your home state. But no, I've got a lot of family down in Melbourne, so I like to sort of stick it to them and tell them that, Sydney's always better than Melbourne, but both great places and both very good for different reasons. And obviously the Melbourne, they call it the sporting capital of Australia, and the AFL down there. Have you been to any AFL games or any other sport?
Yeah, a few AFL, actually, a few basketball as well, which I probably didn't think I would down here. But it's fantastic. A lot of the Storm boys live locally as well, so we've been to a few Storm games, and I'm now still a Tigers man at heart. Obviously, in a West is best. But it's fantastic. Every sort of weekend now, there's something on. The A-League's on. Where we train at Amy Park, there's, I think, 4 or 5 professional teams just within that vicinity, plus the Australian Open across the road. So there's no shortage of sport.
Yeah, well, you have to get into it, mate. Now that everything's starting to open up, get into the A-League, the tennis, the AFL. And do you mix it much with athletes from other sports? Or obviously up until now, you've been probably in bubbles, but...
Yeah. More so probably, if anything, a couple of the league guys. A lot of those guys aren't from Melbourne either. So making that sort of connection with people who are away from home too is massive. So yeah, a few of those. We see a lot of the AFL guys, but they normally get swamped by the media and stuff. Rugby, not so much, unfortunately, in that down here, but that's also, definitely see a little bit around it, but not too much, unfortunately.
Awesome, mate. Cameron, thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you taking out some time to come and have a chat and tell us a little bit about your pathway, your journey to being a professional athlete. And also, I found your Elite Performance Journal is really fascinating and probably a really important tool that I think a lot of young athletes could use, and probably something that I'd say a lot of rugby clubs, even at that Shoot Shield level, could probably start to take on board. You've obviously been able to set some goals through journaling and develop, or I guess reach those goals through hard work and being able to, I guess, identify what you've been writing in those journals. Mate, thanks so much. Best of luck for the season ahead. I know that the Rebels are looking to get into the semi-finals again, and it's Rugby Pacifica this year with 12 teams, so that should be really fun. You're looking forward to getting a bit over to New Zealand, Fiji, and where are you playing the Moana Pacifica side?
I'm unsure. I think they might play them out of New Zealand, but they also might maybe do it in Fiji or where the Drill play too. So I think they're actually set up on Lennox Head. Nice. So might be up there, somewhere around there.
Oh, cool. So yeah, mate, best of luck for that season ahead. Enjoy, and again, I hope to see you at some stage in 2022 in a gold jersey. It would be fantastic for you.
That'd be fantastic. Thank you for having me on, Gino. I appreciate it, and mate, thank you so much, and definitely we'll stay in touch over the next year or so.
Yeah, mate. Take it easy, all right?
Take care.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Some of the key takeaways for me throughout this chat was that Cameron has shown a growth mindset throughout his playing career. He made the Australian schoolboys after being selected in his association second team and the New South Wales Schools second team, but he never gave up or threw in the towel and let his disappointments drive him towards his next goal. He also went wherever he would get an opportunity and made sure he learnt from those senior players around him. For example, a stint in Gloucester, England, where he learnt from players in the squad who had represented the British and Irish Lions. In a coach, he looks for someone who is open to a chat and is honest about feedback and selections, and gives each member of the team the same amount of respect no matter their role in the team, be they the superstar or a rookie. And finally, he talks about the importance of journaling and how this can assist athlete and team performance by doing a little bit every day and make sure you stay accountable to your goals. If you would like more information on the Elite Performance Journals, you can visit the website eliteperformancejournal.com. I'll also provide a link in the show notes. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Coach Doctor Podcast.